Often we exhaust our limited energies, grasping after that which we cannot control, the opinions and behaviors of others, the cravings of our baser instincts, the impermanent pleasures of wealth and status. In doing so, we turn our backs on the one thing fully within our power, to master our own judgments and live with virtuous excellence in accordance with nature's provident design. My teachings today will illumine the transformative wisdom of the Stoic path, to cease wasting our lives in conflict with what we cannot change, and instead redirect our consciousness toward willing acceptance of reality on its own terms. In doing so, we unlock the keys to finally experiencing a tranquil and unshakable inner citadel amid the storms of fortune. For those courageous souls willing to still the chaotic winds of anger, fear, and insatiable desire, the way opens to a liberated existence in sublime harmony with the rational unfolding of all things. Join me now in this highest undertaking, to wake from the encircling dream puppet show of ego and illusion into the enlightened embrace of virtue, contentment, and imperishable freedom. Before we begin, I would appreciate your support. Don't forget to click like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any posts. If you like the theme of this video, please comment +1. And if you don't like it, then comment 0. We look forward to hearing your feedback. Number 1. Accepting other people. We cannot control the words or actions of those around us, but we can control how we respond to them. Too often, we allow the barbs and jests of others to pierce our equanimity, rousing us to anger or hurt. But what good does indulging such disturbances do? It only results in our own suffering while changing nothing about the behavior that irked us. The Stoic path is one of accepting each person as they are, while firmly rooting our sense of self-worth in our own virtuous character rather than the ephemeral opinions of others. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth, by which no one was ever truly harmed. It is the person who continues in his self-deception and ignorance who is harmed." We must be open to correction, not defensiveness. When someone insults or mocks you, view it as an opportunity to practice the most profound of Stoic virtues, willingly accept what we cannot control. Their words reflect their own dispositions and shortcomings, not their own self-worth. Respond, if you must, with the noble restraint and compassion of one secure in their own value as a human being striving to live with wisdom and excellence. Rather than wasting our lives in fruitless conflict, clashing like waves against the immovable rock of human folly, we would do better to flow harmoniously with the great river of humanity. There will always be those who act unskillfully or unkindly, but the Stoic response is to accept this reality without anger or surprise. We are born in such a way that we cannot live without involving others or others without involving us. The path is one of cooperation, not opposition. We cannot force others to change, but we can inspire change through our own example of patient virtue, unruffled by the petty barbs and evils of our age. The insults of strangers need to bother us no more than the barking of a dog, for why should we take offense at the howlings of those who simply know no better way? So I say to you, accept the harsh words and mockery of others with gladness that you have been given an opportunity to practice the highest principle of Stoicism, to desire only what is within our virtuous control while willing the rest with tranquility. Does the emerald lose its beauty of being covered in mud? Let us be like that emerald, shining on undisturbed no matter the indignities thrown our way. Number 2. Accepting transience. Look around you at the great churning cycle of nature's incessant change and decay. The very ground beneath our feet was once molten rock, cast up from the fiery belly of the earth eons ago. The air you breathe now was exhaled as a final sigh by countless living creatures long turned to dust. We ourselves are but ripples on this ever-flowing universal stream, born to experience one fleeting cycle of the cosmic whole before merging back into its source. Yet how endlessly we grasp and cling to the mistaken desire for permanence. We dedicate our fleeting days to the pursuit of fame, wealth, and status, all markers of success just as transient as the morning dew droplets destined to vanish with the rising sun. There is nothing so disingenuous that does not promise itself permanence, but no amount of gold or glory can keep the withering hand of time at bay. Like a green leaf borne aloft in a crisp autumn breeze, we enjoy but a passing season of verdant life before decay and death returns us to the elemental source. What madness, then, to be utterly consumed by worldly fears and appetites that hold no more permanence than the fading tints of a sunset. As the great emperor-philosopher wrote, "Time is a sort of river of passing events, and strong is its current. No sooner is a thing brought to sight than it is swept by, and another takes its place, and this too will be swept away." Does this mean we should live lives of grim detachment, grimly bearing the raging impermanence around us? Not at all. It is in the willing acceptance of the transience of all things that we find the true capacity for present appreciation and fulfillment. As Epictetus asked, "Were you a mere soul at one time and not ever in existence?" It will be your experience with being a soul only when you are made a soul by yourself. So revel in the lush sensory richness of each passing moment. Allow the kaleidoscope of experiences to wash over you, embracing all with gladness. The sight of a murmuring brook, the smell of ripening fruit, the warmth of a lingering stargaze. For it is the great truth that while all created beings and things are fleeting flashes in the cosmic scope, the present moment is always eternal. So revel in the lush sensory richness of each passing moment. Allow the kaleidoscope of experiences to wash over you, embracing all with gladness. The sight of a murmuring brook, the smell of ripening fruit, the warmth of a lingering stargaze. For it is the great truth that while all created beings and things are fleeting flashes in the cosmic scope, the present moment is always eternal. Number 3. Accepting misfortune. My friends, we are born into a world of ceaseless change, where sickness, loss, injustice, and adversity are inevitable experiences for all. To rage against this reality is as futile as shaking our fists at the turning seasons or the rising of the tides. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. What good is wasted in prayers and wishes, demanding that the river of life bend to our preferences? Rather than fruitlessly bemoaning events beyond our control, the Stoic path is one of clear reasoning to redirect our energies towards what is within our grasp, the cultivation of excellence of character and upright judgment. What is the first business of one who practices philosophy? To get rid of self-conceit. He is an athlete in the greatest of all contests, the struggle not to be overwhelmed by anything that happens. When want, sickness, or misfortune descends, we must avoid the near-universal human folly of compounding that suffering through excessive fear, anger, or lamentation. Such undisciplined reactions throw us into turmoil while changing nothing about the original misfortune itself. The Stoic remains poised and level-headed, never forgetting that our final redemption lies in focusing our purest efforts on developing the unlimited inner resources required to bear any outer circumstance fate may send our way. So when confronted with grave adversity, we must ask, how can we alchemize this into an opportunity to heroically embody the radiant virtues of temperance, justice, fortitude, and wisdom. Just as the tiny bamboo stalk, through resilient pliancy, endures the mightiest hurricane winds, the Stoic remains upright through the most formidable storms of fortune by bending our judgments towards acceptance and making purposeful use of each new circumstance. In navigating such trials, we may even discover unlooked-for benefits. We are more often frightened than hurt. Our troubles have their share of dread, not of reality in their aspect. By meeting adversity with steadfast calm and resolve, pain that could shatter the weak only serves to fortify the Stoic's unconquerable spirit. My friends, view each misfortune not as a curse, but as a heroic test from the gods to prove the invincibility of your reasoning faculties and virtuous persistence. With humility and courage, we must wholeheartedly will our circumstances as they come, redirecting our energies not towards vainly demanding the world bend to our desires, but towards molding our own characters into impregnable bastions of equanimity. In doing so, we become truly free and blessed beyond measure. Number 4. Accepting change. Look around you at the natural world's cyclical rhythms of transformation, the tender bud becoming the withered blossom, the towering oak arising from a humble acorn, the very landscape of the earth ceaselessly reshaped by wind and rain. Change is not some anomaly, but rather the unwavering rule governing all of existence in its cosmic march. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." And yet how stubbornly we cling to the impermanent, futilely raging against this universal law like children throwing tantrums. We develop fierce attachments to relationships, possessions, and circumstances, and shun their inevitable dissolution. But harmony and inner peace can never be found in such grasping and resistance. As the river carves new contours in the riverbed, so too must we willingly adapt to the ever-emergent present moment, open and undefended against the alterations it brings. To fear change is to surrender our tranquility to things utterly beyond our command. Each new day, the cosmic cycle turns, rearranging the play of forces and contingencies in ways both wondrous and shocking to our preferences. The Stoic sage does not blindly flee this reality through terror or aversion, but greets it as a natural question from existence itself. Under these new conditions, what is required of me to embody wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation? Our mistaken tendency is to pit ourselves against the transformative current, bitterly mourning each loss and agonizing over each alteration to the previous status quo. But to do so is to willfully cast ourselves into misery over events as inevitable as the rising and setting of the sun. Reality simply does not conform to our cravings, so rather than fruitlessly demanding permanence, we must realign our perspective to appreciate the profound benefits found in embracing life's ceaseless metamorphosis. For has not each loss been always accompanied by some new gain, some fresh opportunity for growth and transcendence? As Seneca asked, "Why should I cling to fortune which has no abiding? Let fortune remove what she has bestowed. I will not complain." Every adaptation to the ever-changing can be an opening for cultivating our highest wisdom and fortitude. To turn and flow with existence's transformations is to finally experience true freedom and heroic self-possession amid the turbulent seas of fate. My friends, always remember that just as the verdant sapling gives rise to the gnarled oak, or the undulating seasons wheeling from verdant summer to barren winter, so too must we undergo our own cycles of gaining, losing, disruption, and renewal with willing acceptance. For we are but transient actors on this ever-evolving universal stage, tasked with embodying excellence through each new scene and storyline. Only in surrendering all resistance to change can we finally know the serenity and steadiness of sages. Number 5. Accepting your nature. So much of human misery and disquiet arises from our tendency to fruitlessly rail against the inborn attributes, talents, and limitations we have been issued at birth. We agonize over our looks, our station, our intellectual gifts, or lack thereof, always hungering after traits and circumstances other than what has been apportioned to us by the rational architecture of the universe itself. But what wisdom is there in rejecting our own nature? Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. Some things are up to us, and some are not up to us. Just as a good actor need not question their role, but instead strive to play it with excellence, so too must we rationally examine our allotted positive and negative qualities, focusing our efforts on embodying virtue within our spheres of capability. For we were issued our particular mix of attributes neither by random chance nor by divine oversight, but by the precise and ordered unfolding of an eminently reasonable universe in which all things occur as part of an intelligent and just whole. To rebel against our nature is to ignorantly fight against that higher reason from which our roles are derived. As Marcus Aurelius said, whatever happens at all happens in such a way that it could not be ill affected by it, and in a sense willed it. Does the rose resist being a rose and demand to become a sunflower? Does the stallion begrudge being a stallion and rail against its equine nature? Certainly not, for they lack the folly of such irrational discontentment. It is only we humans, with our unique capacity for reasoned choice, who so frequently lapse into envious rejections of the role and raw materials we have each been issued by Providence. My friends, open your eyes to the profound perfection of the universe's craftsmanship. Your allotted talents, deficiencies, urges, and limitations are not flaws to lament, but accurate notes in the grand symphony of creation. They represent your piece to play in humanity's great shared act of willingly aligning our souls with nature's unbounded wisdom and virtue. Our reason itself is a blazing torch lit to illuminate the path toward contentment and nobility, in spite of our natural instinctual tendencies toward greed, ego, anger, and fear. What is the profession of a philosopher? To show the supernatural quality of things, and to do and say each from a knowledge of the nature from which they came. Let us then diligently examine our own innate qualities, lovingly and without judgment. Where we encounter natural impulses toward wrongdoing or dishonorable conduct, we must apply the searing light of reason to nullify and overcome them. Yet for those neutral attributes that are ours to possess, we must embrace them wholeheartedly and pour our energies into sounding their notes to perfection in accord with universal reason. For only in such acceptance can we hope to carve lives of excellence and stoic serenity from the substance we've been issued. We have explored the timeless Stoic practice of separating what is within our control from the unruliness of external events beyond our command. In transcending our desperate clinging to the impermanent, we make space to wholeheartedly accept the perpetual fluxions and difficulties life brings with tranquil affirmation. Rather than battling the immutable laws of nature like fools, we realign our reason with the magnificence and wisdom inherent in the cosmic unfolding. Such is the great remission of the Stoic sage, to unreservedly embrace what is rather than uselessly lamenting what is not, and in doing so, to experience the only true and unassailable freedom available to human beings. the freedom to meet all occurrences with perfect equanimity and heroic virtue. I invite you to join me now in this noble undertaking by liking this video, sharing its message with any who may benefit, and subscribing to nurture your own development along these ancient but timelessly pragmatic principles. For those courageous enough to wholly commit to this path, a life of unshakable fulfillment, clarity, and emancipation awaits.